1st of September 2020. Rumours of my illness or death have been highly exaggerated. I've been reassessing, reevaluating what I actually want to do with my life, apart from astrology. So, September 2020. Well, it's going to be a really interesting month. Now, before I actually get into September, I haven't done any videos for a month or two, well, a couple of months. So I've got a whole range of videos that I've had queuing up for months. So I'll leave it up to you guys, drop me a line or comment on the blog, one word only. What do you want me to do a video on? I can do it on Trump, American politics, Biden, Camilla Harris, Boris Johnson, British politics. I can do it on COVID. I can do it on the developments in Brazil or India. I can do it on Australian politics. But at the end of the day, politics is boring. I can also do it on the long term. I've been looking a lot at the long term, what's coming up over the next 5 or 6 years. COVID, for what that's worth, yes. But also things around where we stand now with the Mars about to go retrograde in Aries. We're 2 months into a 6-month process of Mars in Aries. I can be looking at the upcoming Mercury retrograde, which is beginning to come up on the horizon. Have a think about it. See what comes up in this video and let me know what you think. And I'll do my best to accommodate you over the coming weeks. So, September 2020. This is a month where things begin to change. When I've been doing individual client readings recently, I've been saying about how the more we get into September, especially the second half of September, there's a kind of light on the horizon. The over-the-horizon radar is beginning to change. Now, there's a number of reasons for this, so let's look at what's happening in September. First thing first, we cannot get away from the fact that Mars is standing still at the end of Aries now. And over the coming month, Mars is between 25 to 28 degrees of Aries, which means basically that anybody born around, I don't know, the 15th to the 19th of March, June, September, December, April, July, October and January, you're getting clobbered at the moment. And you've got to use your energy, otherwise it will use you. Because if you don't use it, then you're going to get bumps, burns, bruises, broken bones, clumsiness, impulsiveness, irritation, frustration, impatience. Whereas if you use it, then it's a great time for getting down the gym or walking the dog or being more proactive and assertive in a way that's not confrontational or aggressive. People born at the end of Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, you're under the microscope at the moment, and you're the ones who are still really getting in the neck a little bit. Pluto is still going retrograde, but he stands still at the start of October and starts moving forward. Neptune is well involved in going retrograde, and Uranus has only just started going retrograde. So the big three are retrograde. Saturn is retrograde also, but Saturn stops going retrograde in Capricorn at the end of this month, on the 29th of September. Jupiter is retrograde, but he stops going retrograde this month on the 13th of September. So as we start the month, all 5 of the outer planets are retrograde. And the ongoing reassessment, the ongoing changes that have been happening in this last 4 or 5 months are still ongoing. But Jupiter and Saturn are going to stop going retrograde, closely followed by Pluto at the start of next month. So I'm suggesting that we're reaching some kind of base minimum or base maximum of the intensity and the extremes of recent times. Mars will go retrograde on the 9th, so there will be a sort of 4 or 5 day period over the second week of September where you've got Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto all retrograde. And we're brewing up for the next Mercury retrograde, which will start in the middle of October. And in the first 10 degrees for Scorpio and the last 5 degrees of Libra. So that's going to be an interesting one. But let's look at September in a little bit more detail, because there's a few things happening which seem to be interesting. Firstly, there's a full moon tomorrow. Now, I was fortunate in that the skies over southern England cleared late last night, and even from the outskirts of London, I could see the near full moon really clearly. I could see Jupiter and Saturn very brightly, and then deep in the south east, I could see Mars rising late evening before we got to midnight. That was pretty damn impressive light show last night. Jupiter, Mars, Saturn and the moon. Very impressive indeed. If I'd stayed up late enough, I'm sure I'd have seen Venus. The full moon, which is actually taking place at 6:22 a.m. UK time tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, is at 10 degrees of Pisces, with Uranus at 10 degrees of Taurus. So the full moon's exactly sextiling Uranus. Now this is actually really nice for those people born around the 1st, 2nd, 3rd of January, March, May, July, September, November. But it's also overall bringing a sense of opportunity, and anybody who has any significant planetary placement around 10 degrees of the water or the earth signs, then tomorrow's full moon is an excellent time to bring things to a successful conclusion, whilst at the same time revolutionising old patterns. Conclusions but upgrades at the same time. Because the full moon sextile Uranus is bringing windows of opportunity for new approaches, new 21st century approaches to old ways. There's a kind of weird mixture of the empathy of the full moon and compassion of the full moon in Pisces, mixed with the potential for upgrades, innovation and novelty of Uranus in Taurus, suggesting that new ways of dealing with old value systems, old monetary attitudes, old economical problems. So quite a degree of upgrade, whilst at the same time the ending of the old and an upgrading of old patterns evolving into the new. But this is nothing compared to the new moon. The new moon on the 17th of September, around about midday UK time, just fractionally after midday, 1 or 2 minutes, is at 25 degrees of Virgo. It's going to be weakly trining Jupiter, strongly trining Pluto, and extremely strongly trining Saturn. And this is an extremely auspicious new moon. It's particularly good for Virgos, but it's good for everybody. And look in your own chart. Look if there's any planets in your chart around 22 to 26 degrees of the feminine signs, of the water and the earth signs. And this new moon, being exactly trine Saturn, is an excellent time for any type of new beginning, fresh start, initiation, launch point. Anything you instigate or initiate at this time, straight away your glass is 5 to 10% fuller than normal at the moment you launch, and anything you begin on the 17th of September should go really, really well. So this is actually looking really good. I see no reason why this new moon should not be the start of something new. I shall be doing something new on that day, of which more details in a few days' time, because it will affect a lot of people who are working with me astrologically. And it's going to be quite an interesting time, that. But this month, I hesitate to use the word hope. We've been stuck in this COVID nightmare since 6 months. Britain went on lockdown a few weeks behind the European countries, way ahead of other more American countries, but basically the world's been in lockdown for 6 months. In this country, the kids are going back to school this week, and the government's actively trying to push people back into going back to work at the offices as opposed to working from home, which is a bit silly in my opinion. And almost all the big companies, they don't necessarily want their people to go back to the offices. They're quite happy for them to work at home. It's the government that's pushing the people to go back to the offices, not the companies themselves. And this is mainly not because at the company's bidding, people are as effective, if not more so, working from home than they are in office spaces with all the politics and the chitter-chatter and the noise and the virus. It's because the landowners are seeing their rents fading away, and 90% of the land isn't owned by the companies, it's owned by either the elite, the very, very wealthy, rich people, 15, 20 of them, at least in London, who own most of the land. And these are the people who are going to not be getting their rents in months and years to come. So, you know, I feel really sorry for them, honestly. Anyway, that's another story. But, you know, we're not going back to the old norm. Forget it. I'm not worried about the kids going back to school. I'm worried about the teachers. And we're going to have to come up with something new. But this month, I could find plenty of astrological reasons to back up what I say, but I cannot put my finger on it and say, this is one reason. But I feel more positive about September than I felt for any month so far this year. And it is mainly the new full moon tomorrow, and especially the new moon in 2 weeks' time, that inspires me to say this. The fact also that Jupiter and Saturn are standing still and starting to move forward again. Again, there's going to be motion and movement. Jupiter is standing still, sextiling Neptune. Again, the potential for hope, for, dare I say it, faith. One thing that really has developed in this last 6 months is people's attitudes towards the esoteric, their relationship with the divine, their relationship with spirituality, however they choose to see it as being. Some people call it God, others call it Allah or Buddha, others call it the universe. I call it the upstairs department. There's been a lot more interest in people's personal self-growth and self-development, and long may this continue. It's new moon, it's full moon tomorrow. Should be a good one. So, here's hoping that September's going, the more we get into the end of September, the more we're going to start seeing a degree of hope. And with that will come humour, and with that will come an element of optimism. Yeah, maybe it's pie in the sky, but you know what? It's better to laugh than it is to cry. Catch you later, world. And yeah, good to be back. Bye now.